All right, welcome to the Songcast.com presentation. I'm Breaky CPK, going to be your shoutcasting host, and joining me is Phil, the Thrill, the Honcast staff, and this is the GosuGamers main event round of, or actually the quarterfinals here in the winners bracket. We have SK Gaming taking on TotallyRad.com, getting to the spot. They are already guaranteeing themselves, I believe it's actually $800 at this point. But actually, I believe it's $500 at this point. They're guaranteeing themselves at least that much. But you win here, you put yourself in, of course, the overall semifinals or the winners bracket semifinals, and then you're one step closer. And then, just getting to the top four alone, I believe fourth place is $2,000. Then it goes, I believe it's $3,000, then $5,000, and then $10,000 eventually for first place. So the money just starts to jump up and jump up the further on in this tournament, and it's just been an exciting event so far. And finally, looking forward to getting down to the nitty gritty and the better teams coming through and just having a hell of a series. So with that said, though, like I said, I'm joined by Phil the Thrill. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, buddy, I'm doing pretty well. Looking forward to getting this going on. SK Gaming and TotallyRad.com, two pretty decent American organizations who have come quite a long ways, kind of in different angles, unfortunately. SK Gaming, at one time, a premier team, top two team in the entire world. They've fallen quite a bit, but they're still a very competitive team. TotallyRad.com, on the other hand, kind of started off on the other end as maybe not so well-known team, and have built themselves up to be a very competitive organization. And really looking forward to this game. Shout out to Cardinal. Unfortunately, not going to be playing this game, but still, I'm expecting a lot from SK Gaming here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here in this game. Again, it's a pretty classic matchup here between SK Gaming and DRD, like you said. I mean, these two teams definitely have a little bit of history. They scrim constantly together, and, it definitely provides for some very entertaining matches. These two teams specifically have very much been back and forth, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the series is honestly split between these two teams. Don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but yeah, it should make for an entertaining series, and at least one time I can remember it has gone a best out of three, maybe even twice. So these two teams definitely match up very, very well going against one another. With that said, we have some picks getting out of the way. So with the bands already finishing, let's talk about those first, of course. So we got Swiftblade, Flint Beastwood, Dr. Repulsor, Hellbringer, Thunderbringer, and Devourer. So those are the 6 bands right there. Nothing, kind of a couple of bands worth mentioning at least. Obviously, the Swiftblade being the first one to mention. He was actually banned by SK Gaming over there, so they don't want to have to deal with him. And again, these two teams play each other not only in skirmishes, but they also play each other in in-houses all the time, like I said earlier as well. So they got a feel for each other's play style, a lot of it, and thus we're seeing some of these bands. Maybe we don't see all the time, but bands like Swiftblade, Flint Beastwood, Hellbringer even are the cases for that. But any mentions you want to make on the bands here, Phil?
Well, I mean, SK is really well known for playing that Flint Beastwood, and you could tell that they are the team that banned Flint Beastwood, I'm sorry. So it's very catered to each other's playstyle.
I'm sorry about that. My button keeps getting stuck.
No problem. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it just seems like I said, they're very much catered to each other's playstyle. They've eliminated... they eliminated Thunderbringer from the lineup, which, I mean, obviously a lot of people would consider him to be, kind of a tri-lane killer, able to keep one, solo a dual lane even in a 1 versus 2 type situation, at least get some creep score and maintain decent range, standing experience range. However, they did not ban Pharaoh, which is going to allow SK Gaming to pick him up first, and that is what they decided to do, and a very wise pickup in my opinion, because they can really utilize Pharaoh like they can't utilize other heroes who can, solidly win a 2 versus 1 type lane. So if this gets switched up into a 2-2-1 type lane, I really expect SK Gaming to have the advantage here.
Phil, real quickly, is your mic different? Because your mic definitely does sound a lot more scratchy than usual.
Not that I know of.
Okay. Maybe it's my end then.
I'm on the laptop, so that could be it too. Usually I cast on the desktop, but I'm on the laptop right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds fine enough on my end. I guess we can follow through with this. Can you get to your desktop?
No, I'm not at home.
You're not at home? Okay. That's fine then. We'll just go with this. All right. Okay, so anyways, moving on. All right, so we got the picks for either side. So we got the Legion team over here. We're looking at their last 2 picks ready to go. Let's see what we're can see here. I am going to make some adjustments on my own mixer as well, just to make sure. I honestly didn't touch anything since yesterday, and yesterday sounded fine, so I'm just going to make some adjustments, though, and try to make sure, see if I can get it fixed out on my end. Okay, but so for the Legion team, they finish off with their 2 picks right there, and that gives them the total 5. We got Forsaken Archer, Glacius, Pharaoh, Behemoth, and Tundra. So, interesting makeup over there. They're going with the Forsaken Archer carry, like you said. You like the Pharaoh first pick there. He switched over to Tobacco, actually. Going to be curious to see if that's who indeed plays him. But also Angry Testy. You know, it's awesome to see who he plays, of course, whenever we're looking at SK Gaming. And in this case, he readies up with Tundra. Definitely expect Tundra to be going middle. And, of course, especially being played by Angry Testy. So that's going to be a very powerful performance there, of course. Overall, though, you know, a sound lineup. They got the Forsaken Archer carry. Very likely going to run a tri-lane. I mean, not 100% by any means, but possibly we'll see the tri-lane with Forsaken Archer. And then, of course, we'll leave Pharaoh and Tundra playing the solos. But you got the 5-man roster set up over here for SK, so how you liking them, Phil?
Give me a sec. I'm trying to fix this mic.
I think it might have been on my end as well, so...
I don't know. If this doesn't sound any better, I just don't know what to do. So
it sounds a little bit better to me, actually. But we're good.
Let's get it on.
You there? Hello?
yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
And like for some reason, it takes forever for me to like alt tab in and out of pawn on the laptop. I don't know what that is, but.
With that,
I'm back in officially. So, yeah, take a look at the SK lineup. I mean, they do obviously they have the ability to run a tri-lane, but they also have the ability to run, you know, a 2-2-1 or 2-1-2 type setup. So, really have to see where they go with that. Forsaken Archer, they do have her to take into the late game. Not the most powerful of heroes, but we definitely have seen her hold her own late game and really take over games. You know, especially like, in previous matches where we've seen her. Kind of one you might want to think about is when Magic's played her and really just dominated the game the entire time during the last, or one of the last OK Gaming matches that we casted. Behemoth is always a solid hero, whether initiating or turtling, and that's one thing that it looks like they've really gone for, is just a good all-around team, something that can kind of benefit from good team fight potential as well as good turtle potential if they get put into a situation where they're forced to do so.
yeah, we have actually seen Behemoth quite a bit recently. As for some reason, oh, you know what? Okay, 1 second, actually. We're going to have to pause this real quickly. I do apologize, guys. We are using our new setup, and so obviously fixing out some tweaks. So I'm going to have to restart Ven real quickly. 1 second. Just a second. There we go. Okay, I'm back.
Yo, I'm going to restart my computer real quick since we're in a break. There's something fucked up with the thing.
Okay. All right, let's just do a whole restart then. We'll be right back. All right. We are back now. Okay, so let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. 41, 42, 43. All right, so we are good. Finally. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Had some technical difficulties, both of us, in fact. So I had to get some restarts going on. That's 1 second. Let me actually log out real quickly. Oh, my God. That's how I log out. There we go. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we already went over SK Gaming's lineup. Definitely, you know, a fun lineup there. Seeing Angry Testy play Tundra, going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, with the Pharaoh first pick, I expect him to be useful. He seems to, especially in the U.S. scene, it seems to be a very, very powerful pickup in this matchup. So I'm looking for some powerful things out of him. And, of course, Tralfamador on a Forsaken Archer going to be carrying with him. Running the tri-lane as we kind of expected. They're going to be doing it at the top lane, though. So that'll leave Pharaoh running the short lane here at the bottom. All right, though. Let's go over DRD's lineup, though, before we jump into any action here. For DRD, we got Pestilence, Voodoo Jester, Wretched Hag, Soul Stealer and Witch Slayer. So that's your 5-man lineup over there. We're going to pause here, so give us time to talk about it. But you look at the Hellborn team now. They got the minus armor team a little bit. They got Soul Stealer and Pestilence, of course. Usually you had Andromeda on top of that, and then you really got the pure minus armor. But Andromeda, I don't believe she was banned, and so not picked up either. You definitely can keep that in mind when we're talking about this team over here. With that said, though, they're going to have Witch Slayer. It looks like very likely could babysit Soul Stealer here in the middle lane. And that's going to have Pestilence and Voodoo Jester at top. That's going to be a problem, though, because right now they're going to be going 2 versus 3 here at this top lane, unless Glacius may be making the adjustment. So very likely it's going to be 2-2-1 for both sides. Even matchups. Yeah, it looks like that's what's going to happen. So in the end, that's what's going to happen. Again, staying away from Andromeda for an extra minus armor, but you already got quite a bit. And 2 very powerful support. All around a very sound team over here on DRD, Phil.
Well, definitely, and I mean, you did mention that it looked like Glacius would be making a switch, but he's kind of making his way back up top here, so we may see a little bit of roaming here from this Glacius. Wouldn't surprise me too much, but they may try to win this tri-lane up here and give Forsaken Archer monster farm, and then see what happens from there. But going back to the Hellborn side, they do have pretty decent lanes, and they have pretty decent mid-game as well. They do have Pestilence and Soul Stealer to carry them into the late game, assuming Pestilence gets the amount of farm that he really needs. Wretched Hag has some carry potential as well. And Voodoo Jester and Witch Slayer are just great support heroes all around. So they've put together a really, really good team over on DRD's side. And I think that SK might have gotten outpicked in this round. But SK is an excellent organization with excellent players. So hopefully their superior skill will be able to at least keep them in this game.
It's not too often, as you were kind of referring to, that we're seeing the 3 versus 2 lane. It's not too often we actually see that. And I thought you thought too that Glacius were going to go middle. And we're going to have just a 2-2-1, but Glacius decided to go back up there, and like you said, it seems like SK, they're just figuring we want to make sure this Forsaken Archer gets his powerful farm, and they do not want to let Pestilence get a fast portal key. That ultimately is, what they're possibly figuring out of this by deciding to keep the tri-lane at top here, and they're going to kind of, play into DRD in the sense that they're going to try to force them to be the ones to make an adjustment, if anything, but DRD, for the time being, they are not biting on that. Whack on Soul Stealer, he is getting that supportive force from Witch Slayer, and as a result, Tundra is playing a little bit more passive than he would like, I'm sure, but he is still using those piercing shards aggressively, of course, and causing some nice harassment. Witch Slayer, in the meantime, bottling up an Invis Rune for Soul Stealer, actually, so how about that? Soul Stealer has his own, basically, courier, that in the Witch Slayer, and Witch Slayer is going to give it right over to Soul Stealer, and Soul Stealer will, of course, have that to use now, so that's also another fun thing about having a good babysit hero in the middle lane, so he can be kind of your bitch, to say it the nicest way possible, I guess. But, yeah, so right now, Tundra being played by Angry Testy, he is getting decent levels. He's level 4 right now, which is actually out-leveling that Soul Stealer, so great news there. But in terms of creep kills and whatnot, obviously he's struggling a little bit, but again, using those piercing shards aggressively as possible to try to make something happen. Action here at the bottom lane. Pharaoh and Wretched Hag going at it. Someone possibly going to die here. Who's it going to be? Oh, well, this was going on, though. Bloodlust kill actually taking place at the top lane, and Voodoo Jester is the one to fall for that. So good job by SK Gaming up there. Back at this bottom lane, though. See if anything comes of it, and it looks like no. Pharaoh's just going to fall back using that health potion, and that's going to be that. So had to take one of those actions right there, and sure enough, I happened to be wrong in who's going to get the Bloodlust, but well played by SK Gaming.
Well, I mean, we saw Hag actually kind of get a little freaked out there. I thought maybe she's going to be in a bad situation, that Hellfire, when it's just, a one-on-one type situation. If Pharaoh stays close, the early levels in Hellfire really, besides providing the mini-stun, they're actually pretty damaging. And, she figured that she's going to lose that, so she ended up having to blink out of there. And, Pharaoh ended up being just fine there. So, good play from both teams down there. And, I think you have to expect the Bloodlust kill the top lane. And actually, Pestilence being in a little bit of trouble. He's going to be able to get out of there. But, yeah, down at the bottom lane, actually, it looks like Voodoo Jester coming to support, try to get a kill on Pharaoh. Is that Honk going to do enough damage? I don't believe so. And now Behemoth coming in to show a little support. So already we're seeing movement from both teams.
Yeah, quite a bit of movement, in fact, as you're just talking about that. Both Voodoo Jester and Behemoth coming down to this bottom lane for their teams. Witch Slayer with an Invis Rune, though, going to open up on this Tundra. Can we see the Demon Hands landed from Soulstew? They're only level 2 right now. He gets both of them landed. I don't think it's going to be enough damage, though. Good job by Tundra using that pet, keeping the chain slow on Witch Slayer. And in the end, Tundra will survive. So very good defensive play right there, despite literally everything landed on the part of DRD, but unfortunately just not enough damage. And Angry Tessie now going to go to the jungle a little bit and try to regroup over there, and possibly going to go back eventually and get his regen going on. So good gank attempt, going to force him to fall back, but not successful in the actual kill action at the top lane now. Pestilence dropping low. He gets caught here by Crippling Vault. He's kind of trapped now himself. Rather than running, he just says, screw it, I'm going to be going down. Maybe try to get a creep kill out of it or two. He goes down, though, and right now we're looking at a 2-0 SK Gaming lead. So awesome start for them. But what was a very unique, kind of interesting tri-lane strategy from SK, deciding to stay despite being 3 vs 2 and their Tundra being 2 vs 1. It's kind of worked out for them, because right now DRD, they kind of did make an adjustment. They sent Voodoo Jester actually to the bottom lane. He's been down here for a while now, and there goes the Fissure Stun from Behemoth. Acid Cocktail going to prevent any further initiation. But yeah, right now DRD, Soulstealer, you would expect him to have a pretty fantastic farm. He does have the highest creep score. But Tundra, on the other hand, again, not doing too horrible for the circumstances. At the very least, getting the levels, going to be level 6 very soon.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing that, SK really did well, was pick, like I said, a team that they can kind of utilize no matter what the situation becomes. And, they're definitely showing that right now as Behemoth picks up this regen rune down at the bottom, and now Witch Slayer, trying to put a little additional harassment on him. He may end up getting caught. Nowhere really to run except for back towards the mid. He's going to be probably running towards Tessie unless he just sits around. And one more auto attack would be enough to take him out from Behemoth, but not going to happen. Unfortunately, Tormented Soul going a little bit too far over there, and no one able to really catch up. But good play from Fogged on Behemoth. Certainly trying to make things happen and doing his best. But yeah, Tundra being played by Angry Testy is really a great hero from him. He's someone who is excellent. He can micro well. And Tundra, the hero itself, actually more action down bottom. And now Pestilence is in a little bit of trouble as both Wretched Hag and Voodoo Jester were taken out. A stun right there, not really hitting anyone at all. Not sure if that was a misclick or I don't know, maybe just, well, I don't know. But yeah, already, what SK has done is picked lanes where they can really be multifaceted, and they're winning all their lanes. So, you can't really, like I said, I thought they got outpicked early on, but the way they run the strategy has really kept them in the game.
Yeah, it definitely has. Right now, again, a 4-0 hero kill advantage in favor of SK Gaming. And just looking to keep this momentum running. So, yeah, both teams really, kind of moving around a lot like we were talking about earlier. And it's ultimately led to, just some confusion on the part of more so DRD, it seems like. And unfortunately for them also, it just hasn't been working out for them really whatsoever. Forsaken Archer, in the meantime, has been getting a fantastic farm herself. A 31 and 16 creep score up here, now upping around 300 gold per minute. Already with Ghost Marchers. We've seen Pestilence now both in the bottom and the top lane a couple of times. So, again, just like I was talking about, he too is unsure of where he really needs to be or wants to be to try to get the most effective farm possible. But, again, all the credit to SK Gaming for really keeping them guessing and kind of making them unsure of being in a comfortable zone. And right now, Pestilence really not doing too well. Only an 11 and 5 creep score. Tundra coming back here in the middle lane, going to cause some harassment once again onto Soulstealer. He does have that one level advantage. Being level 7, Soulstealer needs to play careful here, because if he gets caught in an ultimate, we could very likely see a kill. He's going to push up. There's the ultimate coming out. He does not have enough mana for piercing shards. Doesn't matter though. He has a double damage rune, and with the assistance of Glacius coming with a Tundra Blast, just too much power right there on the part of SK Gaming. So exactly what I was talking about. That ultimate from Tundra, very scary early on especially, and sure enough, locked him down and set up a nice kill. So SK Gaming 5-0 hero kill advantage. We're now 9 minutes into the game, and they could possibly even push the middle tower right here. Wretched Hag, in the meantime, was pushing into Forsaken Archer. Forsaken Archer going to get the kill, though, with a great use of her ultimate right there, just catching Wretched Hag enough, and picks up yet another kill. So DRD, they are finding themselves in a pretty awful spot right now, and it's going to take quite a bit to try to recover out of this one at this point.
Hey, can you go ahead and sync me up real quick?
Yes. In game, I am at 927, 28, 29, 30. 31, 32, 33.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know they're putting themselves in a pretty rough situation at the moment. I mean, Pharaoh's gotten sufficient farm down the bottom and has his ultimate, you know, already, as well as some steam boots, and I mean that's really all you can ask for from Pharaoh is to, you know, win his lane. And now I expect to see him get a lot more involved in some of those ganks. He is still down here at the bottom lane, however, but you know, using those Tormented Souls to help scout out the top lane, make sure to protect that Forsaken Archer at any cost, and allow her to get the amount of farm that she needs. Meanwhile, looking at the Hellborn team, you know, at 39 and 12, 41 and 26, you know, respectively for Wretched Hag and Soul Stealer, they're not in a bad situation. Actually, ultimately being used here by Tundra on Voodoo Jester. He may get caught, but the really good acid cocktail right there going to keep Tundra from doing too much more as they try to make their escape. Will Voodoo Jester be able to make his way out? I believe he will, as the Purge Creep, the Vagabond, doing his work on Forsaken Archer there. So it looks like what ended up being what was probably going to be a successful gank there on Voodoo Jester ended up being properly supported by Pestilence and then the good acid cocktail. He goes out there, now Pestilence being caught out there. There's the acid cocktail. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Piercing shots come out to finish him off, and the TP is coming from Wretched Hag just a little bit too late, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, DRD, you know, they've really got to get back in here and start supporting each other a little more, and you know, they need to look for heroes to start picking off. Otherwise, SK is just going to really run away with this game as they just pick up another hero kill. Glacius picking off Wretched Hag there. So yeah, I mean, it is getting really out of hand in the favor of SK Gaming right now.
Yeah, SK is really playing on the ball this game. I mean, again, like we were talking about in the pregame. It's SK. You know, they were clearly, you know, a big time, very top 3 team, even at a point, going back to the days of being Team 5, eventually evolving into SK Gaming, of course. And even when they first became SK Gaming, they were still set to a very, very high standard and easily top 5. However, you know, they have taken a dive lately. I believe in the last Honcast rankings, I believe they're in 9th or something like that. And amongst other rankings, and you know, just kind of a spread amongst the community on how they necessarily feel about this team, because they really do kind of go up and down, roller coaster ride. But I tell you, this game, and you know, the couple of matches it seems like we have watched of SK Gaming lately, they have been very, very, very impressive. And again, they if they happen to win here, that'll put them in the semifinals of the GosuGamers, and it's hard to argue that they definitely aren't, once again, you know, maybe even a top 5 team. But we'll stay away from that for now. Obviously, it's still very, very early on in the series, let alone the game. We have Witch there. He's going to get taken out, though. Great job initiating once again. And you just see DRD right now. They're forced to play very, very, very defensive at this point. Tobacco, by the way, in the meantime, he also took out Pestilence in the bottom lane. DRD just has to be so frustrated. I mean, they're down 10-0 in hero kills. They've already lost a tower. The bottom and top tower is getting heavily pressured at this point. They really haven't been able to get anyone to get it that great of a farm other than Soul Stealer, but even him, I mean, he's only at 250 gold per minute. He tries to get an ultimate off right here. He's actually going to get it with the Wretched Hag ultimate on top of that. Here comes our first couple of kills for DRD. There we go. Forsaken Archer and Behemoths get taken out. SK came, though, perhaps getting a little bit too cocky right there. Tundra also going to go down, and, well, DRD caught a break right there. So, yeah, perhaps a little overconfident, very cocky dive right there on the part of SK Gaming. You know, in a sense, kind of giving some kills to DRD, but hey, they'll take it and try to start, you know, making a little bit of a comeback here. But in the meantime, Pharaoh pushing the bottom lane, pressuring this tower, could very likely take it out soon.
If DRD can pick up a tower kill at the top lane, that would be really nice for them. As Witch Slayer has kind of been hanging back, not really doing too much, and already TPs came in, so this top defense tower should be fine. At the same time, though, they're not too terribly far behind. Granted, it is 14-minute mark, and being behind by almost 4,000 experience is really difficult to deal with, because you have heroes like Witch Slayer, who is, you know, only level 5, doesn't have the ultimate yet. Same thing with Voodoo Jester. If he decides to pick the ultimate up at 6, you know, those are definitely spells that can be useful. Witch Slayer has got to hit level 6. He's got to hit level 6. You know, these heroes like Glacius and even Forsaken Archer still. and Behemoth, actually, they can definitely be taken out relatively quickly if they get that super burst damage that Witchslayer can offer, as well as the CC abilities, obviously. But they really just need to look into comboing their skills a little bit more effectively and making better choices about when to defend and who to attack and kind of who to protect. I mean, it's been happening more often than once where we've seen somebody try to go in there and defend somebody and end up just kind of not only not saving that person but sacrificing themselves. So they just need to be a little bit more careful about those things, and I think DRD can get right back in this.
Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, they got Soul Stealer, obviously just the best turnaround of hero in the game, arguably. We do have action though here at the bottom lane. Great job by Pharaoh. He ends up surviving after that pressure from Voodoo Jester and Soul Stealer. Buys enough time for Tundra, Behemoth, and Glacius to all pour it in and eventually pick up both of the kills right there. So again, SK Gaming, their team play this game has definitely been on another level than what we have seen, especially from them, let alone many teams recently, and they're looking very good once again. So we just got finished talking about how DRD they have a chance still. I mean, they do got the very positive carry in Soul Stealer. They got Pestilence, who unfortunately is still really struggling, but he's gonna get a steam boost shortly, hopefully, and then eventually start to work towards that portal key, and that can definitely kind of set some momentum there. But it's going to be really difficult. They just keep falling. Whenever we see what seems to be glimpses of hope, all of a sudden it's just completely turned around, like we saw there. Wretched Hag, on the other hand, she's been getting her levels. I mean, she is level 10, getting close to that level 11 mark even. And same thing for Soul Stealer, with that said, who actually just picked up a portal key, by the way, and hit level 10. So he's looking good. So yeah, DRD, by no means are they going to sit here, and by no means should they concede or anything like that. But it is going to be very difficult. And right now, they need to more so worry about not falling for baits anymore, as well as perhaps getting those wards out, try to get a little bit more control, and just do your darnest to get something, this Pestilence especially, the farm that he really needs to eventually get that portal key. But here we go, once again, action at the bottom lane, going on to Pharaoh. He is so tanky, though, already with the top. You see that Bat Blast, didn't even really do too much damage to him. He's going to end up surviving. Here comes the ultimate on a Voodoo Jester. This is exactly what I was just talking about right there. They cannot fall for, I guess it necessarily wasn't a huge bait by any means, but they're trying to use so much to kill a Pharaoh right here who has a Shaman's Headdress. He's already level 11. I mean, he's been so difficult to kill throughout this game, and SK has proven that throughout this game. They're constantly there to support whenever they need it, and once again showed right there. And unfortunately for DRD, they did fall down, but they are able to take out the middle tower while that was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a little bit of light at the end of that tunnel. Unfortunately, it's just they're in a situation that's difficult to come out of. Wretched Hag, not sure if it was the greatest pickup in this situation. Looking at it in hindsight, there was a lot of immobilization over here on the Hellborn team, so not a whole lot of way for her to necessarily get out. Especially, you mentioned she's been getting her levels, and her farm is not terrible, sitting at a 242 gold per minute right now, 74 creep score. It's not too terrible, but they definitely have the ability to hold her in place long enough to kind of break her down, and especially in a one-on-one type situation where if she blinks away, having Pharaoh, you can really just get back in there and catch right back up to her and pin her down. So I think SK has picked a good, kind of a good counter to this Wretched Hag in particular. But I mean, their play has just been phenomenal this game.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately the problem here. It's not DRD. Yes, they have made some mistakes, but it's just SK Gaming. They've really looked like they're on a different level this game. Their play has just been far superb in terms of team support and everything. We do have a big initiation up here. The Mummy Wall going up, surrounding Pestilence after he got caught by the Tundra ultimate. He could just not do anything right there. We do have one person pushing a lane on both lanes, in fact, from SK Gaming. So right now, SK, they could push this middle lane. DRD is the one that they're pushing in at both the bottom and the top lane with one player. But SK choosing actually to fall back and possibly set up a gank here on the Soul Stealer. Soul Stealer does not have enough mana for his Homecoming Stone yet. This could get very ugly. While I was watching that chase happen, though, Pharaoh in the meantime, he actually picked off a Witchslayer who was pretty much in front of the tower. So Pharaoh right now, I mean, he is showing off both the experience and gold farm that he's gotten. He's throwing out another Tormented Soul right there, just kind of scouting it out, but now going to fall back. But Tobacco just doing an excellent job on that Pharaoh. playing him superbly. Again, going back to being the first pick for SK Gaming, you said from the very beginning, really excited about that pick, and it's showing why pretty much right here in this game. Tobacco already 4-0-4 with a 331 goal per minute farm. Speaking of the goal per minute farm, 4 out of the 5 players are over the 200 mark. Glacius is at 180 goal per minute. So, yeah, just overall, farm is just being dominated here by SK Gaming on top of many other things. 11,000 gold lead, 8,000 experience lead. We have the Hellborn team. They very likely going to have to set up a defense up top here, but maybe not. Here goes the Legion team initiating first once again. Good Behemoth ultimate on top. Only 2 players, but did a good amount of damage. The extra stun. They get the kill on Pestilence. So this Hellfire mini's done too much for Soul Stealer. Maybe. No, the ultimate's going to be used, and they make sure they get the kill with a smackdown on top of that. Wretched Hag comes blinking in. Was that the smartest move, though? He gets a Bat Blast off. Glacier is going to blink away, or excuse me, Homecoming Stone out, though. The blink away from Wretched Hag. Ken Tundra catching up. Piercing charge in 3, 2, 1. It's not going to be enough damage, I don't believe. No, she's going to blink away. And, yeah, she will be fine. But SK, once again, you know, I like I said, I thought DRD was going to set up a defense up there, but before they even had the chance to rotate, SK Gaming was already jumping them. So, continuing the superb play, 19-4 hero kill lead now, 20 minutes plus into the game. They've only lost 1 tower. They've gotten, 4 towers. As much as I don't want to say DRD is not out of this game yet, it's hard to say what they really can do at this point, especially with Pestilence, unfortunately, being just so under-farmed. Nowhere near a portal key.
Yeah, under-farmed and under-leveled. Right now, I mean, he's lower than every member, including Glacius, lower than every member of the Legion side. And actually, it's getting pretty much out of reach here. I mean, Behemoth has picked up his portal key already, as we just saw him utilize it in that last team fight. Glacius has been kind of doing his warding thing, and he's actually not done too bad in the way of. I'm not sure if he has anything in his stash or anything like that, but it seems like he spent more gold. Actually, now the top Forsaken Archer already picking up that Shrunken Head is going to allow her to go through that Pestilence stun. Pestilence in a lot of trouble, using that sprint, trying to get away, and the ultimate unfortunately going to miss, and now he's going to try to TP out there. Now, actually, Forsaken Archer might be in a little bit of danger as the Graveyard Sun comes out, and he's probably going to be taken down. Wretched Hag actually not going to be the one to pick up the kill. Voodoo Jester picking up the kill there. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly the kind of thing that DRD needs, though. I mean, they did lose Soul Stealer through there, and that's obviously not wanted, but you got to pick off these hero kills where you can get them, and I think anytime when the game's looking like this, anytime you can get a 2-for-1 turnaround, then it's a pretty decent exchange.
It's okay, yeah, but at the same token, it's kind of SK Gaming right there, playing over aggressive because they can, because of the lead that they have. Like you said, he already has a Shrunken Head, for Christ's sake. 22 minutes into the game on that Soul Stealer to go, on the Forsaken Archer to go with the Ghost Marchers, and also picking up another Quick Blade to go on top of what he has. So, they were kind of overextended up there. Pharaoh was up there with them, but that was just a numbers game for DRD, and they just so happened to win it because they happen to have a 4-2 advantage in terms of numbers in the long run. But like you did say as well, I was watching the bottom action, in fact, as Tundra came in with an Invis Room, Behemoth was also, or Glacius was also there, and Soul Stealer just didn't stand a chance. So, yes, the numbers exchange was in favor of DRD, but SK, they can afford, those kind of exchanges right now at this point and not have to worry really too much as their gold and experience lead have both risen since the last time I talked about it, not even 2 or 3 minutes ago. Not by much, but it kind of gives you another idea of, despite that exchange, how it's still not a horrible deal for SK Gaming. But they're going to group up here at the bottom rune. Pestilence, Voodoo Jester, and Witch there, they're all just going to scatter and run away. No point for them to be there. Pharaoh, though, he doesn't care. He's going to go on, even if it's by himself. Look at the damage that's coming out. He has that Hellfire mini stun. Is it going to be enough to take out Witch Slayer? No, it's not. He gets chain stunned right here. 5 versus 1, and Tobacco goes down. So again, going back to what I was just talking about, they can kind of afford, mistakes like that, or very over aggressive suicidal type plays. Only so much though. They might want to keep in mind that DRD, they have a comeback style team with a Soul Stealer, Pestilence with that portal key. So want to worry about that, but not the worst deal. But how about that? Pharaoh initiating, trying to get that lucky kill. Not enough though. Wretched Wretched Hag going to be locked down here, though. Keeping the chain stuns up. Behemoth assists as well. And Wretched Hag goes down. Oh, that was a great pick from the Legion team. Glacius also using his ultimate right there to clean up the creep wave, I guess. And now they're just going to push this tower. And the Hellborn team is like, what do we do? Soul Stealer, he could port in and go for an ultimate combo, but he would more than likely get locked down. Not to mention he only has 16 souls currently, which obviously vastly reduced the effectiveness of his ultimate. So tower goes down, and SK Gaming falls back. Possible Congo attempt.
Yeah, it's getting to a situation where DRD is unable to come back. I mean, already 13.5 K gold lead for the Legion team, and almost 9,000 experience lead, so the levels are very, very much in the favor. This early in the game, the levels are very, very much in the favor of SK as well as the gold. Looking at the items over on DRD side, haven't really taken a look at those. Pestilence still sitting with Blood Chalice and Steam Boots. Working towards that portal key, but only 1,000 gold saved up. Doesn't help that Dagius was like stealing some of those ancient creeps from him down at the bottom lane, but Wretched Hag going towards the Frostwolf Skull early on. Not a build that we usually see too often. I mean, most of the times we'll see you go to Nullstone first or something like that. But this time around, you're just going to try to go straight for the Frostwolf Skull. Soul Stealer working towards that Shrunken Head. Now only needs the pattern to finish that. Witch Slayer basically doing all the warding here. So it's, I don't know, like with those items, even if Pestilence picks up a portal key, the fact that Forsaken Archer already has the Shrunken Head, you know, it's going to make her difficult to deal with. Pharaoh's now picked up a Helm of the Black Legion to go along with that Shaman's Headdress, so he's getting pretty damn tanky right now. And then Tundra is kind of doing his thing already, level 2 puzzle blocks, so working on that 3rd level. And obviously, you know, that's just going to be something that that I don't know if DRD is going to be able to deal with, the additional damage output that they're going to have, including being microed by the one and only Angry Testy. I mean, that's a lot of additional damage that they're going to have to deal with. So, pretty SK Gaming looking pretty solid right now. Looking like it's going to be a pretty solid win for them.
Yeah, they're well on their way to taking a 1-0 series lead here. Again, it is best of the 3, of course, here in the GosuGamers quarterfinals. Let's go ahead and do a fast forward. I'm already doing that. Get past this pause here. Looks like he disconnected, so he's reconnecting now. I'm going to fast forward after the break. But, yeah, so again, it's the quarterfinals here, best of the 3 series. This is only game 1. So SK wins. You know, they go up 1-0. Still at least got game 2, and then maybe even a game 3 on top of that. But big money all throughout this event. Get to 35. Get to 36 minutes even, and then we'll do a countdown. When you're there.
All right, right when you are.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. 01, 02, 03.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, just a little bit of a recap there. That's what this is about, and we do plan on casting, again, replay cast. We can only do replay cast at this point, but we do plan on casting also KD versus Online Kingdom after this, and their best out of 3 series replay cast. So a lot of good coverage today. It's been so far an entertaining game, although albeit fairly one-sided in favor of SK. DRD, though, just trying to hang in there as much as they can. Possibly a last fight, though, coming up right here. You got to figure. Because eventually, if SK wins this, then they more than likely can either push in the base, maybe get a conk kill. We'll see. But here goes the piercing shards. Legion team, they want to make something. They were kind of trying to make the Hellborn team bite on them, perhaps. But Hellborn team not biting yet. But there we go. The Pharaoh. He gets a good mummy wall with the Behemoth ultimate on top of that. Just destruction all over the place in favor of SK Gaming. And DRD gets completely wiped out. That, of course, is a genocide. They're now going to push this top lane. You look at the Legion team in their lives, no one is really even that damaged. I mean, it was just really the Behemoth ultimate and the Pharaoh initiation. You look, they still have Forsaken's, Glacius, and Tundra's ultimate still up. So other than, you know, just nukes here and there, they didn't do much else. And so, yeah, obviously Pharaoh and Behemoth, just the combo right there, just way too much. The Pharaoh mummy wall got them really clumped up. And just destruction. So they're easily going to get 2 racks. I am a little bit shocked that DRD actually did not just full concede after that, because that seemed like one of those, God, that sucks. Let's just move on to game 2. But they haven't conceded yet, and they're still hanging in there. I'm sure talking about it on Vent, though. But looks like SK Gaming well on their way to their taking the 1-0 series lead, as we're talking about.
Yeah, now we see the vote to concede. Wouldn't be surprised to see this go through, but wow, that last team fight was just peace out, DRD. Peace out, A-Town. Go back to France.
Go back to
Very
France.
solid initiation, you know, all around from SK Gaming, and you know, the fact that Pharaoh can just be sitting nowhere around and go in on somebody. Actually, speaking of being nowhere around and going on somebody, you know, Pestilence right now kind of put himself in a bad situation. Gonna be taken out here. Yeah, definitely. They used basically everything they had on him right there to take him out, but he did go down. But Pestilence basically picked off, you know, almost one-on-one. Glacius picked up the kill there. B-Diz doing his best to be the best Glacius in the game. And even more action happened in this middle lane. I mean, you got to figure that right now SK is basically playing for stats. They probably feel pretty confident in having this game kind of in the bag. You know, I'm sure DRD right now is probably talking about what changes they need to make for the next game. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, they've already lost this game, and I'm sure they realize that. But they have to come up with a better strategy for the next game, and hopefully, you know, they definitely bring something much more than they did this game, because SK is looking like they're kind of looking like the old team.
Well, the funny thing about this is, yes, SK, you know, they did kind of outplay them to an extent, but you also have to remember the laning phase. It was a very interesting laning phase. DRD, they went with a 2-2-1 right off the bat, as if that's what they were doing. They had no intention of going for a tri-lane strategy themselves. Where SK Gaming, they kind of threw them a curveball. They went with not only with a tri-lane, but they went tri-lane top. Now, obviously, they were probably expecting the tri-lane to be bottom, and with a 2-2-1, it would have dominated the solos. I mean, that obviously is the overall goal of it, and force an adjustment from SK Gaming. But because SK Gaming went top with their tri-lane, it threw DRD off guard, but they did not make a change. And SK Gaming was like, all right, well, we'll stick with this. And ultimately, it gave them the advantage because Pestilence got absolutely no farm early on. He was really struggling. Soul Stealer, he did get somewhat of a farm, but, you know, that's just expected, whether it's 2 versus 2, 2 versus 1. And so SK Gaming, again, they were like, why would we put someone middle and make it a 2 versus 2-2-1 when we could just have 3 up top against 2, and our Tundra could just spam his piercing shards so he could at least as much farm as he can, as well as getting some solid levels. There's no point for us to make that exchange. DRD finally started to try to make some changes, send, you know, Voodoo Jester to the bottom, eventually send Pestilence to the bottom, just scatter all over the place, and they could not figure out a set strategy after that. So ultimately, I don't have any problem with their picks. I mean, it's hard to argue that their picks were bad by any means. They had a very powerful tri-lane. They got excellent solos, so you can't really argue that. But it's just in terms of how they actually executed the laning phase was a big problem for them. But ultimately, yes, SK Gaming, it did seem like they outplayed them to an extent as well.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate because, you know, talking about the laning phase, Witch Slayer stayed in the middle lane just long enough to really gimp Soul Stealer level-wise and allowed Tundra to get that early level advantage on him, and we saw him, you know, utilize that very early on. As soon as Tundra hit level 7, he basically, you know, he had the assistance of Glacius right there, but I'm not really sure that he needed with that double damage in the bottle. He was able to take out Soul Stealer, and that was kind of the beginning of the downward spiral for DRD. Not to say that they were necessarily in a good position at all, but it's just, you know, a lot of people consider the 2-2-1 to be like the counter to the tri-lane, but if your tri-lane is, you know, basically able to feed off the top lane, which they were able to pick up some kills on both Pestilence and Voodoo Jester. You know, they put themselves in a position to win really early on, and you know, exquisite farm from both, exquisite farm and play from both Tralfamador and Pharaoh really put them in a good dominant position. Angry Tessie, of course, did his thing, but I was very impressed with B-Diz. You know, he did an excellent job playing that Glacius, and sure, he might have sniped a few kills here and there, but I mean, you can't really blame him. Now, actually, it's also coming in, trying to get the ultimate off, going to get off on Pharaoh, doing absolutely no damage, as, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. You know, as Soul Stealer with a level 2 ultimate, no matter how many souls you got, and when Pharaoh's got basically a barrier idol, you know, standing on top, or you're going to be standing right on top of him, it's not going to do too much, so, I don't know, just, I mean, it just ended up being a pretty bad position altogether there for DRD, and yeah, this game is more or less just over now. So I'm sure we'll be seeing the concede vote come any minute.
This is funny watching this Pestilence right here. He's playing Ring Around the Rosie, but little does he know he's a Behemoth coming in here. Behemoth, tries to follow it up, gets done the portal key incoming maybe, gets the Swarm on him. He does have his portal key. There we go. Stomps him right in front of the creeps and takes the kill. So, yeah, definitely this game is pretty much officially over. There we go, in fact. The concede vote goes through. And SK Gaming are your Game 1 winners here, so... Again, best out of 3, so Game 2 coming up. DRD, though, clearly going to be talking it over and try to think of doing something a little bit different here in Game 2. But so, Game 1 wrapping up, but pretty much, I guess we really just we've already given our final thoughts, so no point to go over that again. But so I guess we could just wrap it up. Again, I was Breaky CPK, your shoutcasting host. Joining me was Phil, the Thrill of the Honcast staff. And always stay tuned to Honcast.com for much, much more coverage. Game 2 coming up next, guys, in this best out of 3 series. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.